Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. This is at least initially going to be a members only stream. I'll go ahead and make this public probably tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening sometime. So God bless everyone who showed up. As indicated, we're going to finish up our analysis of the Tyler Robinson information tonight. For just a real quick recap, last live stream, which was a public live stream, I started going through the information indictment. Again, talking about the Tyler Robinson case. The document currently charging Tyler Robinson is what's called an information, but it's essentially serving the function of or is equivalent to an indictment of sorts. So anyways, that's why I say information indictment. Last stream went over probably the first half of it and what we're doing. So I'm sure a lot of members here were there, so they're kind of abreast, but we're just analyzing the information in light of the new additional information and, evidence that has been revealed, disclosed to the public. Obviously, we've received a lot of information and other evidence, which, as we discussed last session, right, already, before we even get to the preliminary hearing, draws in serious question the state's case against Tyler Robinson, okay? And pretty incredible, last stream. I wanted to start out and go back to one part that I talked about. I actually made a post about this on X yesterday, but I wanted to start out the stream going back over real quickly this 33-hour manhunt situation. For those who were there and recall, I was speaking about the 33-hour manhunt, and I'm going to pull up in just a second the information and look at the exact line again. But again, this 33-hour manhunt, the reason why I'm bringing it up is really in the context of, remember, and I actually did a stream about it too, but we're talking about the Discord messages, right? We're talking about the Discord messages, and we're talking about the Fed slop narrative that is insistent that Tyler Robinson was not arrested and formally taken into custody until I think 4 a.m. on September 12th, 2025, right? But we know Baron Show, everyone on our end of the spectrum who's actually looking at the facts, using common sense, being reasonable, and again, looking at the evidence of the documents that we have, we all know that Tyler Robinson turned himself in on, and as we'll see, the state even admits he turned himself in to Washington County on the evening, right? 6 to 9 p.m. We believe obviously closer to 6 p.m. And I'm going to get into it in a minute, but the defense filed the motion with the excerpt, the transcript excerpt from when Tyler was actually taken into custody and Mirandized on September 11th, 2025 at approximately 6:25 p.m. We all believe that. And again, in my opinion anyways, and I think a lot of reasonable people's opinions, is the common sense looking at the documents. This 4 a.m. nonsense is, again, we'll get into the full gambit here, but I wanted to go back into it because I had a few more epiphanies, thinking about how why the state admitting within the information, one, that Tyler did indeed turn himself into Washington County on the evening of the 11th, September 11th, 2025 in Washington County, and that ended the 33-hour manhunt. It just provides an even more solid basis of logic, reasoning, et cetera, for this conclusion that the 6:25 p.m. in Washington County, the transcript that was in the defense motion is indeed what we believe. It was on September 11, 2025. Again, all kind of reflecting back on the question of whether Tyler was in a position, technology-wise, custody-wise, right? Basically, did he have access to his phone or a computer or some method by which he would have been able to post these alleged Discord, or I think it might have just been one message, but Discord confession, basically, right? Discord confession. But I just want to go back over it one more time because I really want to hit home with that. And I'll get into the reasoning for that towards the end, but it's to give you a preview real quick, as I've been saying for quite some time now, and this isn't to like say, oh, I've just been right, I just know everything, or, I'm the only one analyzing the case correctly. No. But I have been saying for a while, and I kind of saw this a while back, is that the state is highly dependent. Its case is highly dependent at this point. And I think now that we're getting all this information, I think it always has been highly dependent on a jury, or really the public is the one they're trying to sell to the harsh right now. Anyways, the public, a jury buying that, both the text messages that were allegedly sent last week's and this Discord confession, getting people to buy that that's an authentic thing. And I'll break that down even further when we get back. But I mean, and a lot, that conversation will also depend. I say depend. It'll be more informed once we go through the second half of the information here. But yeah, I mean, just in a nutshell, y'all. And I mean, I think you feel the same way. Any kind of real direct, solid, physical, direct gotcha evidence has escaped the state's case in this instance. Okay. And so now we are contingent upon, these other, I would say, existential evidentiary items, although that might not be the best script. But, like these messages, a confession, his parents are allegedly going to testify against him, which we have, doubts about that as well. But again, nothing like, we have, his fingerprints and DNA on the firearm that's been, directly linked to have been the, weapon that unalived Charlie Kirk, that type of direct, forensic, and not saying that's the only evidence that, or you have to have it to convict necessarily, but, it's the type of direct evidence that Operation Mockingbird has taught us, that we should, those are the standards that a jury should have for, forensics here in at least the United States, I guess, around the world. But anyways, we'll get into that in a minute. Let me pull back up real quick. Oh yeah, by the way, Attorney Greg Lake, welcome to the Entheogenic Esquire YouTube channel podcast. Got my buddy Bear with me. I don't know if y'all see, but I got him a little hat. He's got a little gangster hat. He's wearing it backwards. Here, I'll show you. Buddy thugging over here. Look at him, buddy. He got him a ball cap on. buddy thugging back here. Okay, he's holding down the fort though. So yeah. Yep. Anyways, God bless y'all. Let's go ahead and jump in. Let's take a look. Again, I'm gonna take just a second and talk about this 33-hour thing. I just think, and the reason why I'm harping on it too, y'all, is because, and Barron pointed this out as well when he was talking about this, but it's true. It's like, this thing right here shows, I mean, at least as it relates to the now disgraced, hey, Rainey, how you doing, love? Good to see you. As it relates to the now disgraced Utah County Sheriff, right, who sold us on this other narrative timeline of Tyler turning himself in the 33-hour man. And that's another thing. If I remember correctly, the sheriff was harping on it was a 33-hour manhunt as well. I think it might have been Cash Patel that said it first. But again, let's talk about that, right? Because like I said, if you actually line up what's 33 hours manhunt, well, it sure as hell doesn't align with 4 a.m. on the 12th. So let's talk about that for a second. Going back over the exact language that the state uses here in the information. And I'm going to read most of the paragraph here. On September 10th, 2025 at approximately 12:23 p.m. Okay. So for purposes of the 33-hour manhunt, again, looking more, eventually towards Tyler Robinson actually being taken into custody. This starts the clock, 12:23. Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while speaking to a large crowd at the campus of Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Police found the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action 30-06 rifle nearby. Over the next approximately 33 hours. Okay, so again, one thing that when I first kind of had this 33-hour manhunt epiphany, I thought, well, maybe they might move the goalpost and say, well, we were, the 33 hours really didn't start until, some other later event, maybe when they had an idea that it might have been a furry lover or something. Maybe that started 33 hours. Just kidding. But anyways, I think here in context, we can definitely say that this 33 hours, the baseline time, the start time for that was going to be this 12:23. So it says over the next approximately 33 hours from 12:23. Police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025. Just so we're clear, and I actually went and Googled this, ladies and gentlemen. I Googled this to see what hours are officially considered evening time. Okay. And I know that might be, Greg, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, you didn't realize it was 6 to 9. I say evening all the time and don't think I ever like conceptualize that, oh yeah, it's between 6 and 9, therefore it's going to be evening. And I think my concept of evening actually transitions a little bit throughout the year, right? Evolves a little bit throughout the year as the daylight, right? Like, evening to me is kind of like dusk in a way, like dusk into very, very early dark, which in most times a year for most of us about 6 to 9, right? But anyways, I formally looked that up, and I'm glad I did, because for purposes of what we're doing here, it's important, right? And we'll talk about that here in just a second. Police conducted a manhunt until the evening when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Okay. So again, the 33-hour manhunt, according to them, was over whenever, by implication, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Okay. So again, I've actually got a worksheet here that I had done for my, just to conceptualize my X-Post yesterday. But, if we have a manhunt, right? If we have a manhunt, the police have a manhunt, right? It normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, when there's a manhunt, it's usually like a pretty big deal. The suspect is pretty wanted. And I know it's like, well, what does that mean, pretty wanted? Something usually bad, violent. They usually don't do that for nonviolent offense, right? But like usually something bad, violent. And you go on a manhunt because, implied in that is the perpetrator, who, now we say defendant, but perpetrator, criminal suspect presents a further danger to the community. That's why, and again, this is just me kind of pondering on my experience, seeing and hearing about, reading about manhunts. Usually it's, someone's a continuing threat to society. They've done something crazy, usually very violent, and therefore they have a quote unquote manhunt. Okay. But anyways, I say that to say this is, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm just using bad or flawed reasoning here, but it seems to me, if you have a manhunt and you have this dangerous suspect individual that you're hunting for, it seems to me whenever you encounter that individual, whether it be, police go out and find them, or as here, come to the police. I doubt that happens very often, right? But obviously it happened here. But it's like, wouldn't it be the first thing police would do? Like, I'm literally the first thing police would do. And in this instance, he turned himself in. So maybe they don't, first things first, go slap the cuffs on him. Okay. If he peacefully comes into the office and peacefully comes in and takes a seat, it seems, based on the transcript, in some interrogation room or conference room, even though they might, in his instance anyways, slap the cuffs right on him. Maybe they did, right? Maybe they did. They're still taking him into custody. Okay. And again, and if anyone watched my Luigi Mangione video I did, y'all will understand, because I covered at least briefly in my Fourth Amendment analysis there, what is custody versus arrest. And under the Fourth Amendment, custody is when a reasonable person not guilty of any wrongdoing at whatever point, again, they don't have to have the cuffs on them. They don't have to have their physical environment literally like, in a jail cell, in a cage, to take them into custody. But the point to where a reasonable person who's not guilty of any wrongdoing would more or less feel like they are no longer free to go. Okay. So you got to think. So when you have a manhunt, I'll go back through it real quick one more time, but of a person who in most instances, or maybe all instances I'm aware of, has done something super violent and crazy, all hands on deck, police, let's go hunt down this individual and get them off the street. Okay. So obviously whenever they come into contact, confront that person, I would imagine most times it's outside the police station, right? But even in this time, police say, what's the first thing you're going to do? Take them into custody, right? Because if we go by the Fourth Amendment definition of custody, if you're not taking them into custody, that means that they would still technically be free to get up and go about their business. Okay. And so to me, the Fed sloppers suggesting that he was not formally taken into custody and arrested until the morning of September 12th, 4 a.m. Correct me if I'm wrong, is a notion that seems to suggest that Tyler Robinson, despite being in the, like, even though he voluntarily came in, like, despite being in the Washington County Sheriff's Office, and if we take it as true that, and I'll cover this in a minute, that Brian Davis of the Utah Bureau of Investigation came and picked Tyler up at 10 p.m. and then drove him to Utah County, it means that entire time Tyler could have been like, hey, Brian Davis, I'm going to need you to pull over here at this gas station because I'm about to go out and about my business, right? I mean, it's literally what it suggests. And correct me if I'm wrong for us, I don't know if I'm assuming that. I mean, I think it's a pretty healthy. Oh, Debbie, thank you for the super. Love it. Thank y'all. Yeah, we will. And towards the end, I'll talk about Jax. We had a really cute day today, y'all. We had a really cute day today. It was awesome. And here, I'll take this off first. So I'll bring y'all back over here. Anyways, so do y'all get what I'm saying? Oh, there we go. And again, the reason why I'm doing this is just to, and again, it's not to like attack the Fed sloppers or say they're stupid or crazy. I just like, let's, on this channel, let's work together to try to reach like reasonable, in line with our shared reality and the law and all these other facts like conclusions. And I'm putting it out there for all of us that, yeah, I think the conclusion that, the state stating in the information that this 33-hour manhunt ended when Tyler James Robinson turned himself in, okay, implies in that in order for the manhunt to be over at that mark, he would have needed to formally be taken into custody, because if the subject, the person that you're hunting, is not within your control, and I know normally when you're hunting, you unalive somebody. Let's be just very grateful that didn't happen here. But, in this instance, taking into custody, then the hunt's still technically on. If the Joker can get up and walk out and go on about his business, correct me if I'm wrong, then the hunt is still on. Okay. So again, and so now let's talk about the 33-hour thing, because this kind of raises some other kind of ancillary questions too, is that if that's true, right, and I think it is, for purposes of this channel, my opinion, I think the stance we're going to take here is that he turned himself in probably around 6 p.m. in the evening, 6 to 9 on September 11th, 2025, that obviously we don't know exactly what happened within there, but we do know also too, right, based upon the piece of the transcript, the excerpt from the transcript that the defense put in their media motion, that he was actually Mirandized then, right? And I'll say this, if he was Mirandized at 6:25, taking what's in that excerpt of the transcript is true, and using all our logical reasoning skills to pull in these other facts, like Barron pointed out with the Bates numbers, remember, in the state's exhibit list, referencing a video from Utah County or Washington County on September 11th, putting all that together, that yes. And so because he was Mirandized, right, and for those who saw my Luigi Mangione video, y'all also understand this too, is that, he was in custody at the time he was Mirandized. Cops Mirandize defendants or potential defendants, suspects, okay, when they are in custody, before they start asking questions, right? And remember, the context of the transcript is the cop gives him his Miranda rights because the cop wants to interrogate him, right? Remember, for those who watched the Luigi Mangione video, when you're in custody, meaning at the point where a reasonable person who's not guilty of any wrongdoing would no longer feel free to leave and go about their business, That is being in custody. So at that point, when the police want to interrogate, and again, if you watch the Luigi Mangione video, you'll know interrogation is when police, or at least in this context, is when police are asking questions aimed at or have a high probability of eliciting an incriminating response. And so what we see in that piece of a transcript from, again, that was the transcript is from, we believe, the conversation between Tyler Robinson and the police at Washington County at 6:25 p.m. on September 11th, 2025. Because he's being read his Miranda rights, then we are we're in the good zone by inferring that he was in custody at that time, 6:25 p.m. But I would venture to say that at the moment he came in to turn himself in and identified himself and why he was there, I would be willing to bet at that point they probably weren't going to allow him just to walk out of the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Okay. Thank you, Rainey. I appreciate it. I'm glad y'all liked the Luigi video, and I'll keep posting updates on that case because I'm kind of enthralled with it, and I think y'all kind of liked it too. So thank you very much. So anyways, I think all the evidence points to, without question, in my opinion, right? I say without question, 99.9% sure, I feel anyways. Yeah, Tyler was actually officially taken into custody sometime before 6:25 or at 6:25, at the very latest 6:25. Now, he was read his Miranda rights at 6:25 p.m., but he very well could have been in custody before then. Like I say, I bet from the moment that he walked in there and identified who he was and why he was there, he was not going to be free to just walk on out of there at that point. So whatever that point is, I would say that's when he was officially taken into custody or taken into custody. And then obviously he was read his Miranda rights at 6:25. So even if he was in custody prior, he was read them then because that's when they wanted to start questioning him about this. And not only that, the Fed slop narrative is that that questioning, that he basically wasn't Mirandized and interrogated or attempted to be interrogated until the evening of the next night at 6:25 p.m. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, we see that the state has admitted he turned himself in Washington County on the evening of the 11th. Do you think they really waited that long to try to talk to the dude and interrogate him? Come on now. That, and again, that's just more of a common sense type argument there, just to be honest. But I mean, I think there's a lot of weight to it. Yeah, they weren't going to wait that long to interrogate that guy. I mean, again, I think him turning himself in and around 6 o'clock and then be, in the interrogation room or conference room or whatever, Mirandized, asking questions by 6:25. So yeah, and then when we look at the 33 hours. Okay, let's talk about the 33 hours real quick. 12:23 p.m. Okay, 12:23 in the afternoon, of the 10th, right when the very unfortunate incident occurred. 33 hours from them puts us at 9:23 p.m. on the 11th. So in order for this 33-hour manhunt that's in the state's information to be correct, Tyler Robinson would have had to have been taken into custody at 9:23 p.m. And, we have the arrest record, right? So we have that arrest record too, the booking sheet that was leaked. Who leaked that? Steven Crowder, I think, leaked it. But yeah, it shows the Utah Bureau of Investigation, Brian Davis formally arresting Tyler Robinson at 10 p.m. that evening. Okay. And so so either way, they definitely didn't hit it square on. But and I think that's fair. Look, even though we would definitely consider, I think it would be most fair to consider it over at the 6 or shortly after 6 when he turned himself in, where he was no longer free to go. I mean, I think that would have been the most, but hey, I think there might be something to the fact that they were wanting to hit the 33-hour mark for some reason. Just going to throw that out there. But, obviously they're, for some reason they chose to go with this formal arrest time. Okay. After technically after technically the 33-hour mark, 9:23. But again, we'll give it to him 10 p.m. Okay, fine, 33 hours. And I got a question, like, why didn't they consider? Because ultimately, it makes the police look better, right? The quicker they apprehend the suspect. And if they would have put the 6 p.m., when he came in around 6 p.m., whenever he came into the Washington County Sheriff's Office that evening, okay, then it wouldn't have hit the 33, but it would have looked better, right? They would have shaved off about 4 hours. So it'd have been 29-hour manhunt, which would look better. So it makes you think, well, why did they move it back even further back than the actual 33 hours, right? To the 10 p.m. Again, and that's kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, but just thinking. And then moreover, if evening is 6 to 9 and he was not formally arrested to 10, well, then why did the state in the information say he turned himself in the evening, ending the 33-hour manhunt, yet consider the 33 hours not until he was formally arrested at 10 p.m.? You see what I mean? It's kind of awkward there a little bit. Like, why are they choosing these more or less arbitrary points for this time? And I think y'all can see kind of the and again, it's like an hour discrepancy, inconsistency with him turning himself in the evening, ending the manhunt, then not till 10, 1 hour after evening's over with, getting arrested and considering, that the end of the 33-hour manhunt. But anyways, just throwing that out there. Okay. And again, the reason why we're going into that is just talking about whether Tyler would have been in any kind of position to publish the, alleged confession Discord message. And then to these Fed sloppers, right? The Fed sloppers. And just to recount real quick their basis for saying, oh, no, it was 4 a.m. And again, the 33-hour thing is just one more notch on the belt of us over here on this side. And I hate to even insinuate that we're on sides. We definitely should not be. Anyways, facts are facts. Some people subscribe to them, some people don't, right? But with that being said, where was I going with that? The 33-hour, there's no way that the 4 a.m., right, on the 12th could fit within that 33-hour window. And again, the 33-hour window is actually pled in the information. All right. And, again, are they prepared to say that Tyler Robinson came into the Washington County Sheriff's Office, yet he was free to go? That Tyler Robinson got into the car with Brian Davis to go to Utah County and he was free to pull over and walk off at any time at that point? Because that's what it means if, their position that he was not officially in custody and arrested till 4 a.m. on the 12th certainly implies that, right? Because when you're in custody, you're not free to go. So you ended a manhunt and someone was still just free to go until early the next morning. Again, none of it really makes sense if you interpret it all that way and make that conclusion. But anyways, that's going to be up to y'all ultimately to draw that conclusion. But I just think the overwhelming weight and quantity amount of the evidence suggesting that Tyler, obviously turned himself in on the evening of 11th, Utah County, in and around 6 p.m. and was almost immediately or very shortly thereafter taken into custody and Mirandized. And again, we ultimately, just from that information, still can't 100% say whether he posted those Discord messages or not. But obviously the notion that he was in custody in a sheriff's station at the time, I think dramatically reduces the likelihood that it was actually him. Okay. So sorry I harped on that for a minute, y'all. I don't know why. I just feel very strongly about, and for me, it's one of these things that it's just hard for me to understand how a person could legitimately look at themselves in the mirror every day and say, hey, I am a competent and person with integrity and I'm a career, and sit here and say that. And again, I don't mean to talk mean about the people. I just don't see how, with the overwhelming way the web evidence pointing in the opposite direction, all the way to the point of the state actually having contradictory allegations in their pleading can still hold that position. And ultimately, like I said, and we'll talk about this a bit more at the end, I think the reason why they're so sold on trying to ensure that in everyone's mind, Tyler definitely, well, they want you to believe he definitely did send the messages, but at the very least, they want to not, no matter how much of their credibility has to go to the wayside, they want to make sure that their position is, and that, they obviously want people very much to believe their position that Tyler was in some type of situation or capacity or had the ability, access at that time to draft those Discord messages. Because, like I said, their case really comes down. I mean, it literally, with the way things are shaking out, like literally the state's case could be make or break on whether those Discord messages are accepted as authentic by both the court and a potential jury. Okay. And, ultimately, this is just speculation, in my opinion. I don't know if they've ever had any intention of this going past the preliminary hearing, or if it does very far. Meaning, I think they're either expecting a plea or maybe there won't be a trial. I'm not going to say much more about that. And so, and why I say that too with the disc, because the story around it, for me anyways, these Discord messages and the text, as we're going to see in a minute, of the other messages, which we've talked about before, the text messages, it's just so incredulous that those are real and authentic for so many different reasons. But again, when we look at the standard for a preliminary hearing, it very well, and like I told you, it's unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, but if judge uphold the constitutionality of Article 1, Section 10, Section 12, I believe, and Rule of Evidence 1102, right? The hearsay, the reliable hearsay, that Lance Twiggs will literally be able to say, hey, I'm a member of this Discord chat room, and yes, that's Tyler Robinson's screen name. And yes, I remember seeing this message come through at this time on this date from Tyler's screen name. Can get, theoretically can be admitted for purposes of the judge accepting it, towards the state meeting their burden at the preliminary hearing. Okay. So basically meaning that they only need it to be so good for right now, right? It's not unless they have to go to trial. Is it a super, are all these holes and, potential, data, facts, information that draw it into question going to be a really big concern, right? I mean, look, I wish it would be for them at the preliminary hearing. I obviously think it should be, right? I mean, just the idea that, and again, my opinion, my perspective, that flimsy ass, pardon my language, flimsy ass evidence like that can actually be used to hold someone against their will. Oh man. And like I tell y'all, it's systemic. Unfavorable criminal procedures like this, it's pretty systemic. I mean, to the point to where, yeah, you can pretty much be placed in jail and held there for quite some time on not the most solid evidentiary grounds, might I say, right? And I think this is a good example of that. But let's go ahead and get back to the information here and start talking about it a little bit more. And I will get to comments. Let me go through some of this, and then before I switch over and start talking about some of the more higher level meta items, I'll take a look at the comments. God bless each and every one of y'all for being here. Let me just make sure I say what's up to everybody. Daisy Times, good to see you. Give the pup a pet for me. Rick, as always. Debbie, God bless y'all. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for spending your Sunday evening with me here. And yeah, let's keep going. So if everybody remembers, we got all the way down here to the expanded crime scene investigation. This part right here. Take a drink of my coffee. The expanded crime scene investigation. It's crazy that they're out here expanding the crime scene when they haven't even secured the main crime scene. Like, what scene are you expanding? Like, you haven't even taken control of the main crime scene. Anyways, lest I digress. Here we go. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believed the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. And so, just real quick, obviously there's been a lot of talk and chatter about how they found the gun, right? And the question with the bomb dogs not smelling or locating the gun, even though it was allegedly fired, at the very least within the previous 24 hours, right? How that suspect. And so when I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path. Well, how did they know the escape path, right? How did they know the escape path? For all we know, the only escape video that they have, or, indicia of how he left, was him jumping off that roof. But I don't think that jumping off the roof video necessarily gives you a whole lot of indication of like his actual path on and out of campus. So again, they make it seem, again, this is my opinion, perspective, like it was just a little too easy, when I think we know that it either wasn't easy or it wasn't so. Oh, I didn't mean to rhyme right there. Again, allegedly, my opinion, my perspective. But anyways, lest I digress. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. And again, if we remember back to the stock photo, I say stock photo, I think that's what it was. But anyways, when we think back to the photo that was published online of the rifle, it's in a box. Like, where did the box come from? And again, maybe it's an evidence box or something like that, but it's in a box. I've yet to see the towel. Have any of y'all seen a picture of that towel? Let me know in the comments. And apparently they found DNA consistent with his on the towel. And I think that's mentioned in one of the hearings somewhere. But it goes on to say, the rifle contained. Oh, thank you, Rainey. God bless. I appreciate it. My new pup is really good. I guess I'll just do the pup talk real quick. The pup is really good. We took him to my in-laws today. They live across the mountain, and they actually have a big, 5-acre yard that has a stream going through the back of it. And then they also have an older mountain dog. So he got to play with her. They got to become somewhat a friend. She was a little bit annoyed with him at times, but we all walked down to the creek, and I like to hike up the creeks here because it's so much fun. It's this nice, clean mountain water flowing, these huge boulders. So it's fun to hike up the creek, jump on the dry rocks. And then sometimes you do have to get in the water and traverse a little bit and then get back up. And anyways, I was, when we got the dog, I was just hoping that I'd get a dog that wasn't scared of the water that could come hiking up the creek with me. But today we go to grandma's house and we go to the back creek, and my brother-in-law, who's a decorated special forces officer, was with me. He's retired. But anyways, when we got there, he just kept going. He didn't even stop. He didn't even look at us or say, hey, is this what I'm supposed to do? He just went straight into the water. And I loved it. He loved it. He wanted to go deeper. But he's a little puppy. So he went up to about halfway up, and he was he wanted to go deeper. And so I picked him up and took him out, walked out to the middle with me, and he loves it. He can't wait. So that was good. And I'll just say this, that my brother-in-law, he loved the puppy so much that he ended up buying his the only dog that the breeder had, one of Jax's sisters. He's going to go pick it up tomorrow. So Jax's sister is going to be across the mountain with my brother-in-law. We go over there almost every Sunday to go eat and be with them. So they'll be able to play. It's awesome. So thank you for asking, Rainey. God bless. The puppy's been nothing but a blessing. Just something I needed right now in my life, and I thought that was so, but now that I have him, I know it's so. And so very grateful and blessed to have him. I tell you what, at the end, I tell you back, next stream, I'll bring him on. He got very, very tired today, running. He did more physical activity than he's ever done today. And so God bless him. He's tired, but there's going to be court tomorrow, an order. The judge is going to have the hearing tomorrow and issue a ruling on What were the two things? One, he's going to rule on whether there's going to be an evidentiary hearing on the contempt proceedings. And then two, he's going to rule on the media motion. So I'll do a live stream tomorrow night, probably at the same time. I'll bring the puppy on then. How about that? So thank you very much, Rainey. I do appreciate it, and God bless all of you. It's an honor to be here with y'all. It absolutely is. I just want to let y'all know that I love it. Anyway, so we'll keep going. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shooting. No shell casing. Okay. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shooting. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than auto-loading weapon. Only a single round was fired. Okay. Fair enough. Although, obviously, there's many of us who don't believe it was a round of anything being fired. But, hey, fair enough. And one thing I'll say real quick is, the other day, Zach and Barron, when they did their video, Zach asked Barron about, would it be detrimental for the defense to concede that Charlie Kirk was unalived with a 30-06 round? And absolutely it would be, Barron said. And then Zach asked, well, what about them, admitting or conceding that he was, unalived by gunfire? And, one thing Barron said that I want everybody here to be mindful of too is that, going up to a preliminary hearing, it's not, admitting them to the 30-06, yeah, that would be very much detrimental. Insinuating or suggesting or, just using figuratively that he was shot, not as much, although I wouldn't do it. I don't think Barron would either. I would be very careful in that regard. But just because in some of these pleadings, maybe they referenced him being shot, this or that, isn't dispositive, meaning that definitely doesn't admit it for purposes of the ultimate trial and the merits that's what happened. Just want to make everybody aware of that because I know there's been questions about it. And quite frankly, I did too. I had some minor questions as well. And so thank you, Barron, for giving, his opinion on that. I certainly agree. And then here we go. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. Fired cartridge. No Tises Bulge. OWO. What's this? I have no idea what. Okay. Anyways, second cartridge. Hey, fascist, catch. Arrow symbols. Third cartridge. Oh, Bella Chow. Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow. From what I understand, these were memes. These were like Groyper memes or something, like something Nick Fuentes came up with. Let me know if y'all are familiar with that. Fourth cartridge. If you read this, you are gay. LMAO. Okay. Well, I don't have anything. I don't think any information has come out in regards to whether this is authentic or not, whether they actually found these cartridges in the firearm. I don't know. But let me just say this, like a lot of other stuff, right? It's like, because they came out so quick with all the political posturing, this is a leftist, he's a furry lover, Charlie was actually unalive during a question dealing with trans violence. Oh, what a coincidence, right? It's surprising to me that they wouldn't have published this. And maybe they did. Let me look real quick. Let me see if there is a picture anywhere on the internet of these alleged cartridges. Okay, no, I'm looking. I don't see where any pictures of these cartridges have been published. Do y'all remember, these shootings? God, do y'all remember not too long afterwards? So this was September 25th, in and around there. Y'all remember the guy I think it was in the Dallas area that shot at a ICE center? Allegedly that guy had written on shells, and I'm looking at a picture of that. So, and that's why I was a little bit confused because yes, they published a picture of that. Why didn't they publish this? it could have, I think in the context, it would have been potentially more inflammatory and would have gotten the public way more in their feelings and way out, further outside of their logical reasoning mind. I don't see why they didn't publish it. So anyways, I will just say, in regard, in along those lines, that's why I kind of draw this into question. This is just me personally, right? My opinion, perspective. That's why I kind of draw that into question too. I don't understand why they didn't also publish this, pictures of that. Just because when we look at their course of business over, the term of this investigation from the incident, yeah, that's abnormal for them, right? That's a bit abnormal. So that's a little bit just question, but still conclusions there. Let's see. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Okay, so let me ask you. So that's and this kind of goes to lone gunman thing. Well, if his DNA wasn't on, I mean, obviously, I guess you can wipe your DNA off something theoretically, with alcohol or some other sanitizer. But if all the other ones had your DNA on it, why wouldn't you take it off all of them? You understand what I'm saying? That is, again, just, and this is just within the 4 corners here that I'm thinking, that's kind of odd. And I'm going to go back to and say it again. I said it last time. I hear a lot of people saying the word fingerprints. I don't see anywhere in here. I mean, let me search real quick. The word fingerprint ain't even in here. So it just makes me wonder, fingerprint testing is obviously much, much quicker, much easier, simple to do than DNA testing. And I don't see any reason why you couldn't do both. Why is there no fingerprints done? Why aren't his fingerprints on there? That's my question too, is why no fingerprint analysis or testing? And again, that's not to say there wasn't, but it just seems that, like I said last time as well, you want to throw all the evidence that you got on there. And if you can do a fingerprint and a DNA test, especially when is here, the bullet fragment doesn't match or is inconclusive, meaning it's not a positive that for sure was the gun. It seems like you would want to get additional other forensic type fingerprint evidence, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. That's odd to me. Anyways, lest I digress. Oh, and as I said last time too, in regards to the DNA, right? DNA consistent with his was found on these items. However, as we've discussed, in the hearing, we actually found out that it's like 5, I think one of y'all said even 6 different potential DNA profiles on the firearm, right? And it was Adam and John Bray said last night, that technically if Tyler owns the rifle, then obviously his DNA is going to be on there. I bet it's also, if this is true and that's his rifle, I bet it's probably him, his dad, his granddad, maybe Lance Twiggs' DNA was on there, right? It would be very interesting to know that. But again, this DNA consistent with, as we've learned, isn't, hey, Tyler Robinson's DNA was the sole DNA, found on there. There's multiple people. And so, again, they say DNA consistent with, they don't say multiple DNA profiles were located or matched, on these items here. And moreover, what I would like to know is, and maybe I need to go back and listen to the hearing, but okay, so these multiple DNA profiles, were they on each one of these? Because like I say, I can definitely see where, willy-nilly on the rifle trigger, stuff like that. Maybe even on the cartridge casings, maybe, the rounds were handed to him with the firearm, and so other people have, maybe there, but like the towel, like did multiple DNA on the towel? Again, it just some things to think about there. Like, this is it again, just for me, my opinion, it's a little fishy to me. Lest I digress. Law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify the shooter through other means. Okay? Again, this is the manhunt, right? This is the manhunt. And we talked last time about the photos and the videos from the UVU surveillance cameras that they publish, right? I mean, let's be honest. That it doesn't look a whole lot like Tyler Robinson. Maybe the person had somewhat of a similar build and maybe a general agreement in the facial structure there, but again, and like I also said last time, the more I look at it, the less I think it's him, right? The more I look at that, the more I'm like, yeah, that's not him. But, as we'll learn in a minute, his parents identified him. Well, we'll read it, but it's like, if anyone knows the look of a person, particularly a young man, it's your mom. Your mom is going to be able to recognize you in a photo before anybody else. Am I right? And so that's also suspicious for me. All of us outside, third parties are looking at it like, oh, that doesn't really look like him at all. I'm having a hard time how Mama Bear thought it was him. So again, just wanted to point that out, but we'll keep going here. I don't want to stop too long. Robinson's mother stated the following to police. Okay. Again, we need to always remember that what we're seeing in this information is not a transcript of what the mother said. This is the police regurgitation, reinterpretation, my opinion, perspective, speculation, kind of skewed understanding of what Robinson's mother said. And what further confounds it, hearsay, is this is what, based upon what Tyler told his mother, who then allegedly told to police. So you see the interpretation there and how that comes out on this paper might not be 100%, if you get my drift. Anyways, lest I digress. This is what Robinson's mother allegedly said. On September 11, 2025, the day after the shooting, his mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news. Okay, I'd be anxious to know which photo, but I think we all know. I think they're probably suggesting that it's the photo of the guy with the eagle shirt and hat and glasses on the stairs. The one that so many people don't think that really looks like Tyler much at all. But apparently his mother thought it looked just like him, I guess, enough to where it's like, identify, like, oh, that's my son. It's like, even if it did kind of look like Tyler with the hat, the glasses, and the grainy image, which was admittedly enhanced. And I told y'all about it the other day. If I'm the defense lawyer, to the extent they want to use that video or that picture, they're going to have to do some extra authentication and proving up there, because it's like the FBI director admitted to it being manipulated some way. He didn't specify how it was enhanced, but all that's going to need to be thoroughly explained. And the original's going to need to be introduced into evidence. But anyways, yeah, so saw the photo shooter. She called Tyler, and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick, and that he had also been at home sick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspected shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. And so again, the only evidence that we have of this, right, is what's stated here. Obviously, there's no public statements by them talking about this is what occurred. Obviously, there's been evidence, I say evidence, some of our compatriots, some fellow content creators. I think it's actually Elizabeth Lane. I think she at least spoke with his grandfather, but anyways, the family, from my understanding, please correct me y'all if I'm wrong. Y'all probably watch a lot of more different shows than I do, but it seems to me that they've said that they don't think Tyler's guilty. Now, I'm not saying that that means this didn't necessarily happen, but it does kind of make you wonder. I think that the mother, to the extent that she in fact knew about this or that he had talked to her about, she would want the full scoop, right? She would want the full scoop. And yeah, if they think he was set up now, why would they think that if he told them that he did it? You understand what I'm saying? Like, and again, I'm not saying that's an impossible situation that they, son admits to him and they quote more or less at least encourage him to turn himself in and then flip and think that he was set up. But it's not wholly inconsistent, but it's a bit incompatible, right? To think now you think your son didn't do it, was set up, yet he confessed to you that he did it. That's strange to me. Anyways, lest I digress. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans-oriented. Okay, so again, I'm not saying that this didn't happen or that she didn't say it, but if we are to believe, as I think it's fair to say we are being led to believe, that Tyler Robinson had a large online presence, not that he was like some big influencer or anything, but spent a lot of time online on Discord, all this stuff. They really haven't shown anything where he expressed that online. And I'm not saying that everyone has to go online and express all their political views, stuff like that. But for these people who spend all this time online doing games and Discord or whatever, it seems that there would have been, to the point to where someone's getting radicalized enough to go pull something like this off, especially by themselves. Wouldn't you imagine that he would have said some stuff somewhere online pretty blatantly that would have us thinking, oh, okay, yeah, now that makes sense that this is where this is. I haven't seen nothing like that. I've absolutely seen nothing like that. And moreover, just seeing Tyler Robinson and hearing like the truth about him being intelligent. And again, as far as we know, being an intelligent and otherwise law abiding, not a troublemaker type dude, I need to see some more stuff that shows me how he got to there, right? How he got to there. Nothing's making sense in that regard. And again, we got to think like a jury here. If we're having some issues with that, hopefully, obviously the media has done a really good job about slanting and prejudicing the jury pool there in Utah County and probably the whole state of Utah. But if they can get some reasonable-minded people, I think the state's going to need to show some evidence of how we got from point A to point B, other than his mom just generally stating that over the last year or so, he's become more lean to the left, more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. Let me ask you this. Have you seen a picture with Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson in the same photo? I'm going to look real quick. I'm like you, Debbie. Debbie said, I'm sorry. I just kind of looked over. So I don't know if he's gay either. I don't know if he's gay either. I've got some questions in that regard too. And I'm to the point now, y'all, just to be quite honest, where it's like anything the government tells me, like I'm automatically thinking it's probably different than that. It's come to that day and age for me here. I don't know if any of y'all kind of feel the same, but right now with the way our country's going, and by the way, this is my opinion, I think we've reached a level of corruption in this country, particularly with this administration, not to say that it's only it's both parties, right? But I think this administration has reached a level of corruption that puts us beneath third world countries in that regard. A lot of them, at least. Well, really, I think where we're at right now is no different than, Colombia or Mexico, literally. Except here it's not narcotic, even though they're probably paying them too. Again, it's just all my opinion, speculation, by the way. it's not narcotics. I mean, I'm sure narcotics are paying off at least some of the government narcotics traffickers, but it's literally the PDF files. Like, they have issues with the cartel. We have issues with elite billionaire PDF files paying off the government to be able to just do whatever they want with our children. I think I'd rather live under the narco system, to be quite honest with you. I know I would. I hate to hear, people getting unalived and violent stuff. I surely do. But I really, really hate to hear about children getting, man. Anyways, let me look real quick. I mean, I'm looking right now, and I just Googled Tyler Robinson. Here, I'll just pull it up for y'all for a second. Because that's interesting to me, right? It's like, oh, so you're dating this person. Y'all are dating, and roommates too, right? You have to, have 100 pictures with your roommates, but you figure you at least have a roommate pic or something, Let's look real quick. So yeah, I mean, look, and correct me if, maybe there's a better Google search to do. I agree, Daisy. His sexuality should be irrelevant. Absolutely, it should. Absolutely, it should. But we know why people have. I say make an issue. We know why they raised we know why they're making the allegations. I'm not going to say raise awareness of it because I have doubts about it. But look, you see any pictures? I mean, of course they put pictures out, right? The media's real good about putting them both on the same frame, in the same frame. But like literally, do you see a picture? Have you ever seen a picture with those two individuals at the same place at the same time, acknowledging each other's presence? I haven't. I don't know if one exists. I truly don't know if one exists. So anyways, just wanted to bring that up. I just thought about that. I have not seen one. Anyways, I'll pull back up the information here. Okay. All right. So next it goes, Susan says she hasn't seen him either. I haven't seen him in a picture yet. I find that very suspicious, and again, I could understand if he's in a conservative state, conservative family, all that. You don't want to be, hugged up on the dude or making out with the dude on a picture, but you're his roommate. Surely y'all hang out with friends and maybe do something, even just there at the house. Seems there to be some picture, right? And even then, right? Even if it wasn't a picture that they posted to social media, y'all don't have a friend that took a picture or one on y'all's phone, because that if there existed out there, it would be spewed everywhere. I don't think one exists. So that makes me kind of wonder, were they really roommates? Hell, did these people really know each other? You get it? Again, speculation. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but man, I got some questions. But anyways, this resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Okay, again, this right here, and they're doing this here. They're doing all this here. One, in my opinion, one, to get people all inflamed that he's some pro-furry, pro-gay, pro-trans person who's dating another dude, okay? And then trying to set it up for motive, right? And if this is all they have to get me as a juror to believe that he actually had some type of motive, or that his feelings were strong enough to make it likely, listen, to make it beyond a reasonable doubt that he would have gone out and done something like this, I don't think they're anywhere near the goal line with this. Do you? I mean, put yourself on the jury for a second and let me know in the comments. Do you think that this, I mean, reading this, like, does that make you think, oh yeah, this is going to be a guy who's going to go out and, implement, carry out the largest political assassination in my lifetime so far here in the U.S. by himself? It just doesn't. For me, he called it a stupid venue. I mean, let's get real. Like a stupid venue. Okay, like I don't get it. I'm sorry. I guess I'll just leave it there. I don't get it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll come back and we'll talk about it. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. Again, it's just kind of strange to me that a mother and father, can look at this image, this grainy surveillance footage image on, oh yeah, that looks like my son. Yet us who only known Tyler through images and just, all we've known through this, look at it and say, yeah, that doesn't really look like him at all very much. But anyways, he also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. Again, we've dissected that one pretty good on this channel, and summarizing here, I'll say that there seems to be some discrepancies between the type of rifle reported, which is a World War I era Mauser rifle that, again, that's untraceable, doesn't have a serial number. Okay. Again, they wanted that, right? And it's just me speculating, they wanted that untraceable Mauser World War I rifle without a serial number. Again, just my opinion, speculation, but yet they couldn't produce one for the photo. They had to get a newer model, Mauser rifle, which calls into question whether, if it's true, this other information that we've been fed that the family rifle was this old World War I, how could Tyler's father have identified that as the rifle when, to me, it's blatantly not a World War I era rifle that we're shown on in the stock photo that they publish. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my take on that. So again, I think they're gonna have problems with that. I mean, I think the defense, attacking the prosecution's case, I think that's again an angle of attack. Sometimes it's death by 1,000 cuts. This is gonna have to be. I mean, for me, it would be one of the cuts. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. That's kind of, also too, I'll just say this. I mean, I'm a guy that's owns guns, right? Owns guns. Every time I ever bought a gun, I take a picture of it. I send it to my people like, hey, look, check out what I got. Check out what I got. I think that's pretty common. We have friends that we shoot guns with or friends we've been hunting with. It's a point of pride for guys when you get a new firearm. Let me know, guys, if y'all are out there, if I'm way off left base. But I find it odd that he wouldn't have a photo of that rifle in his phone or somewhere. I think Tyler's grandmother, I watched a show the other day and I can't verify 100% information or not, but they were saying that someone has been able, maybe it was Elizabeth Lane, that was able to speak with Tyler's grandmother, or she spoke with somebody shortly after and said that Tyler's never really been into guns, or she doesn't even know if he's ever really shot a gun before. I don't know if that's 100% true or not, but I mean, that was some information I heard the other day. So there was like issues, doubt thrown upon whether Tyler was even some rifle guy, that one would have had, regular possession of a rifle like this, and two would have been able to shoot as they're suggesting that he did, with the level of competency and ability to pull this off. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to. So they go into talking about the rifle. It's like, okay, did he ask him about it on the phone? What did he say? But they just kind of conveniently segue from that to Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied, woo, man, he implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there's too much evil. There is too much evil? What are you talking about? Like, generally in the world? I know. Yeah, welcome to Earth. Welcome to the third dimension, man. And the guy, Charlie Kirk, spread too much. So there is too much evil generally, and Charlie Kirk spreads hate. I mean, let's just be honest. Pretty much any person on the left that keeps up with politics, okay, who knew about Charlie Kirk, they probably would have said the same thing, the exact same thing, right? The exact same thing. Again, this to me is just not, if it's even true, this is just not something that rises to the level of a person willing and capable of going out and doing something like this, right? There's too much evil. There's too much evil again in the world. Where, man, in hell? Where are we talking about? There's too much evil, and the guy, Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. Again, those 2 points would have been said, have been thought by millions and millions of people. Okay, millions and millions of people. Again, not saying that that's right. I mean, I'm not saying, God bless Charlie. I mean, I think some of the stuff that he said, people took it as him spreading hate. I don't know if that was necessarily his intention, right? I don't want to go too far into that, but I think it was somebody saying that. If that's their opinion, I think it's a fair assessment for people to say that. It's just not something radical, right? It's just not something radical that would, be the impetus for someone to do something like this, in my opinion. And again, we have to think in terms of a jury. Would a jury also, be thinking along those lines? Let me know what you think about that. I'm just kind of going through what my kind of punches as a defense lawyer would be going through this, or, how my strategy would be informed on this type stuff. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, a family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot about that. I read this the other day. His parents' home. Why would the police have to? I mean, don't get me wrong. I can understand why they might go search his parents' home eventually, but doesn't he live with Lance Twiggs? Wouldn't him bringing the evidence up there, like vitiate them searching his home with Lance Twiggs? Now, I mean, I guess he could say, because, sometimes they're like, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to go arrest your mom. And cops do it all the time. We're going to arrest your innocent mother. Maybe this was kind of like a threat like that. Like, if you don't take them all the evidence, they're going to go, which they will, kick down your parents' door, destroy their entire house. Because they will do that, right? The FBI for sure. They will do that. So yeah, I don't know if that's what that was. And again, no offense. I mean, sometimes doors need to be kicked in and stuff needs to be searched that for sure. And I don't want to single out the FBI. I don't want to single them out. There are other police forces that do it too. They take it a bit too far. And sometimes I've seen been aware of situations where it's a little bit vindictive what they're doing, right? Because a defendant didn't do what they asked or cooperated as they wanted them to. Rick says, where doesn't Tyler live? The family friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. I think as we pointed out the other day, I haven't seen any pictures of these clothes. I have not been informed of what exact specific outfits they're alleging that he wore at these different times, right? I mean, in my opinion, if they're going to allege all these different clothes changes and rifle configure, they need to pin it down. They need to have that pinned down. Like at this time, he changed into these clothes. And before he jumped off the roof, he changed to this. When he got to his car, he changed to this. I think this deal, again, my opinion, my speculation, I think this thing with the clothes, again, has to do with trying to get every little item that you can get to try to match to make up for the ultimate fact, my opinion, my speculation, that he just didn't do it. So you're trying, again, if we're thinking that Tyler's a patsy is being framed, I'm not saying that's what happened, just, for thought exercise here. Yeah, I would take it that these closed things are them, things, and I'll talk about this at the end. I had a good little conceptual discussion here. They're trying to take as many of these little items as they can to link them up to make up for the ultimate, shortcoming that he just didn't do it. Okay. So anyways, my opinion, my perspective. All right. So now we're going to go to the roommate section, here we go. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate. So I'm assuming this interview is going to be the recorded interview that they're going to try to get admitted at the preliminary hearing. But anyways, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided those messages to police. Okay. So right here, again, this kind of goes to the authentication thing, right? We'll look a little bit at these messages. There's a few little things I want to point out. We're not going to spend much time, but we all have doubts about it, right? We all have doubts. But with Lance Twiggs testifying that, oh yeah, I received these texts at this time on this day from this number who is known to me to be Tyler Robinson. That'll get them in, at least for purposes of the preliminary hearing, I do believe. Now, again, when they go to trial, I hope that if it goes that far, that his lawyers really attack the metadata and all the digital signature type stuff and really, really, really make them prove those messages up beyond just Lance Twiggs getting up there and testifying, oh, I received this messages from this. Because, like we said, ultimately, even though he did receive those messages from that number, that does not 100% mean that Tyler sent them. And moreover, phones can be cloned, their SIMs can be cloned, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's, I'm hoping when they go to trial that there is a much deeper workup of the messages than Lance Twiggs saying, oh yeah, I got this from Tyler. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard. The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it. Police found a photograph of this note. Oh, they found a photograph of this note. And I think that it's come out right later that Lance Twiggs burned the note or something. And then they found a piece of the burned note. Again, and I think we've covered this before, but, also that too constitutes tampering with evidence, destruction of evidence, which is a crime and it can be a felony in Utah. And I'd be willing to bet in the context of this case, I bet you it would fall under the felony category for destroying something like that. But here we go. Oh, well, we're not going to hit you for that if you come in and say XYZ for us. If it's even true, if that note's even a real thing. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take, it should say I have the opportunity to take, if he wrote this before, presumably, right? It should say I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it. Anyways, that's nitpicky, but just wanted to point that out. Let's go. After reading the note, the roommate responded, what? You're joking, right? All right, I'm not going to go through all this fluffy chat GPT stuff here. But there was a couple inherent kind of inconsistency here. I wanted to keep this secret until I died of old age. Okay, there's just a lot of other things being alleged here that contradict that. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. So why would he ask that when he just said, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, I'm going to take it? Well, then why are you asking? You weren't the one who did it, right? And not only that, you just asked him, what? You're joking, right? And he said, he at least insinuates or implies that it's him. So again, it's just hey, let's make sure that we ask it 6 different times, that, make sure that these messages state this so many different times that it's no doubt that he confessed. I think here they pointed out, because right here he's talking about the guy George Zinn. I think it's been stated that there might be an issue with him being able at the time these were allegedly sent. I don't even know if we know when these were allegedly sent, but I think there's been people that have drawn into question it being unlikely that Tyler would have been able to have that information by the time or at the time he sent these. I don't know the intricacies of that argument, but I just wanted to bring that up because I'm pretty sure that has been stated. I'd planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. Again, these just aren't. It's just not strong language to me. To me, it's just not the language of someone who just did something that he's alleged to have just done. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Yet there was allegedly a screwdriver on the roof, right? Definitely an imprint from where you laid down. I mean, yeah, you didn't leave no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Oh, and not only that, you left a note under your keyboard, bro. Dude, you're telling this person right now that you did it. Yeah, you left some evidence, all right? You surely left some evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week. Okay, yeah, all right. I believe. So you don't know how long you've been planning it? I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. There was a time when they alleged that there was an officer who Tyler Robinson confronted or had an exchange with an officer over there by the area where the rifle was, but it was pointed out really quick that it wouldn't have fit into the timeline. And ever since then, you haven't heard any more about it. And it most definitely didn't make it in here. And I actually discussed that on one of my live streams. But yeah, so there was a walk back on that too. I'm wishing I'd circle back and grabbed it as soon as I got my vehicle. I'm worried that what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. So it's like the dad alleges that it was, his Grandpa's rifle was given to Tyler. Tyler references it here as if it was his rifle, like Tyler's rifle. But here it says it's Grandpa's rifle. And I don't even know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. There you go right there. Oh, like I said, no fingerprints, but he says right here that he's worried about prints, yet they never did anything to try to pull fingerprints, or they haven't, again, you would imagine that they would have that would have been one of the first tests that they run, and that they most definitely would have published it here. We see nothing. I had to leave in a bush where I changed outfits, didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find the prints. Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry I'm expressing so much tonight, but y'all get what I'm saying? I haven't seen anything about fingerprint. I mean, I hear people even in the court, like they reference it, but I haven't seen anything, conclusively establishing that any prints were taken, much less that any prints were matched to Tyler Robinson. And then we talked about too last time, potential prints on the side of the building. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man? Again, is it your rifle? Is it his rifle? Whose rifle is this? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? Okay, so yeah, remember I was engraving bullets? I got DNA on all of them except one. I wonder how that happened. The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices, bulge WDU of Fox move, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it, and that really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think $2,000 scope. I don't know if right there he's referencing that like it's good, like it's accurate. I think that's what he's talking about. But again, just kind of odd, just really odd. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle and it's very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Okay, so that's another thing. It's like, again, the rifle shown. Now, a World War I Mauser rifle, it's definitely an antique, and I guess you could say, just depending on the model, so it's pretty unique, but still, Mauser is a pretty widely distributed rifle back then as it is now, and definitely the rifle that they put on the thing is not unique. Like, literally, the rifle that was published in the media is like a rifle you would see in probably most deer hunters' rifle cabinet, gun cabinet. If not that exact gun, like something that looks very similar, right? Like I told you, it's like, open up the middle of the Cabela's magazine to the rifles, and like that's going to be your typical rifle that you see. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff, and that's a question. I think he was a Utah County sheriff, but he turned himself in Washington County. I need to look into that a little bit more because that kind of struck me as odd too. It's like, okay, this guy was a Utah County sheriff. Was he live in Washington County then? Like, how did they get to Washington County with a Utah County sheriff friend? To me, there's just some inconsistencies there. All right. Anyways, not much more there. All right. So this is the last one. Police execute a search warrant on Robinson's residence. Okay. So like going back to, that the police officer friend said, oh, so they don't search your parents' house. Well, they searched his house. So obviously, again, it doesn't really jive 100%, right? During that search, police discovered a shell casings with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near UVU. What did they say? Police also found several targets with bullet holes in Robinson's home. Woo! Okay. Like, what caliber? Did it come from that gun? I mean, so having a target, like a target with some holes in it, like further implicates you in unaliving someone. I mean, in a conservative state like Utah, where probably most people have at least a target with, in their house, with bullet hole, just something that's not that out of the ordinary to further suggest that you unalive someone. But again, I think that them mentioning that is, again, like I said, they just don't have a lot. Did I not have the thing up the whole time? I'm sorry, y'all. I do apologize. I read it, so I guess I'll hang my hat on that. But anyways, yeah, so there was a couple things, like I said, let's just talk about physical evidence real quick as far as like direct evidence linking Tyler Robinson to the scene, to the actual scene, right? The only thing they have, right, to campus, right? Not talking about the rifle, in the bushes over there, but let's just talk about on the actual campus. All they have really that's of any even potential value, I don't even think it's much value of any at all, is that one, surveillance footage of him allegedly coming up the stairs, right? Look, doesn't really look like anything like him. Obviously, the video of him running across, or him allegedly running across the roof, we can't tell who that is, right? We have no idea who that is. Other than that, they don't have anything to put him on that campus that day. They haven't mentioned anything about cell phone towers pinging, anything like that. The closest that they have is the rifle allegedly found in the bushes, near UVU, that has DNA consistent with him on it. But again, then we go with the actual, they found the bullet fragment that all they can say there is that and again, there's many people have many doubts about whether that's authentic and actually came and was discovered the way that it was. But even assuming it was, that doesn't connect that rifle to the crime or again, they just don't have the inconclusive bullet with a rifle with, DNA. It's very flimsy, very flimsy. Okay. Very flimsy. I don't think it's enough to get a conviction with, right? So with that being said, and so when we think about it, in again, what I'm about to say is all speculation, my opinion, allegedly. If we consider this to have been an inside job, he's a patsy being set up, and being framed, those the hard evidence, those are the hardest to plant and make up, right? Those are the hardest to plant and make up. And I think, again, just my opinion, this is speculation. I think what we're seeing is their best attempt to try to get as much direct, like forensic evidence as possible. And this is the furthest that they were able to go with it. And because of that, to my second point here, they're very much relying on these messages. They're very much relying on everyone in society thinking that he's a leftist, transist, furry, Charlie Kirk hating person that wanted him unalived. And between those two things that, he confessed in these three things, he confessed in those messages and he's a leftist, trans, furry lover. They're really relying on those two things to try to make up the major lacking that they have over here with direct, like, forensic evidence. Okay. And so that's why I think we've seen so much, one, just generally negative, prejudicial press, but two, we've seen a lot of focus on the messages and the Discord messages. Remember, we watched that Brian Enton interview with the former FBI agent who, was trying to play master psychologist and read into the messages and, tell you about how big of a sociopath Tyler is by the content of those messages. So does that make sense? So I guess reading this, going through with y'all, looking backwards, and even to today at the media covers, it makes sense now why they're pushing the narrative the way they are, with the emphasis on these messages, emphasis on him being leftist, transfer. You see what I mean? And to be quite honest, there and an emphasis on, his people are going to testify against him. The emphasis on, he turned himself in. Because when it comes down to it, and let's be honest, we all know, like I said earlier, Operation Mockingbird really has people in America, CSI, all these other shows really have people expecting to have really solid forensic evidence tying a person to the crime. Okay. And they don't have that here. And, in every run-of-the-mill case, they, would also maybe have messages, but they also need that extra factor here. And I think that extra factor is convincing people he's a trans, furry, leftist, Charlie Kirk hater, unaliver. I think that's why we're seeing so much emphasis on that, right? Because at the end of the day, if they did have all this really good direct forensic evidence, well, surely they'd be harping on that. They're not. And from what has been revealed to us, we know why. It's not strong. They don't really have anything. Okay. So just wanted to bring that up. Anyways, let's go ahead to the comments here. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for showing up. I hope y'all have enjoyed this, me going off a little bit. I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. And I don't know if y'all got a chance to see Barron's episode earlier talking about blatant F. And, Barron talked about those posts about the Asian woman. I'm not here to say blatant F did that or not. I tend to think, in my opinion, he probably did. But, that's definitely the doings of a person. Here's my take. Blake, whoever made those posts on that website, in my opinion, probably made an advance on that Asian girl, probably over Facebook in the messages, and got rejected. And that's what prompted all that. That looks to me to be jealous, vindictive, upset because you got rejected type stuff. But that's the kind of people we're dealing with here, y'all. That's the kind of people we're dealing with. All right, here we go. I'm just going to start. Oh, y'all put a lot. I'm trying to stay here all night. Let's see. Okay. All right, I'll start with Debbie. All right, here we go. Raining, thank you for the comment on Luigi video. God bless. Thank you. Debbie, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. It's posted yesterday. She said she's going to look at it tomorrow. Susan, I think most of us agree Cash Patel is a clown. Oh, I watched a comedy video. Man, let's watch that real quick. This is a member stream. We're gonna watch some of this video. Hold on. I gotta do it, y'all. I'm sorry. It was and some of y'all might have seen it. This comedy channel did a skit about Cash Patel, like how you day drink on the job. Oh man, hold on. This is good. Where's this video? Oh, hold on. All right, hold on. I think I saved it over here on my Buddy Bear account. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna watch this with y'all before we go. And as always, go watch the original one. We won't watch it, the whole thing, just for respect purposes. But let's see. Where do I go to my history? Oh, where's my history? I hate this. Hold on. It's on. Here we go. Okay. Give me just a second. I gotta find it. We gotta watch it. It's great. I was actually wanting to do a skit with me and Buddy with it. Hold on. Let me do it. Man, I wish I could find that video. I'm gonna have to locate it. It was hilarious though. It's a comedy skit where they go through and act like Cash Patel, like day drinking on the job. Man, it's awesome. All right, I'm gonna stop looking for it. Man, I wish I could find that video. I know let's see. I'm gonna look one more place here. Hold on, I might be able to get it here. Oh, let's see. Where was it at down here? I know I did. Hold on. I'm getting close, I think. Hold on. Come on. I know I did the dude. I had to have liked that video. It was too good not to. Let's see. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, I'll find it. We'll watch it next one. Y'all remind me. I will find that Cash Patel video. It's just too good not to watch it with y'all. Man. How is that video not pull up number one when you put in Cash Patel day drinking? Okay, I'm gonna get off of it. I'm sorry, y'all. All right, let me go ahead and finish up here. Let's see. Let me look real quick, Rick. Let's see. Discord owner states Tyler Robinson messages not on platform. Let's see. Hold on, here we go. Okay, hold on, here we go. This is what they say. All right, here, I'll pull up what I'm looking at here. This is TMZ, by the way. So, but anyways, Discord. Oh, let me make sure I share it. All right. Discord was not used by Tyler Robinson to either plan the murder of Charlie Kirk or to hide the evidence, TMZ has learned. Discord tells TMZ, in the course of our investigation, we identified a Discord account associated with the suspect, but have found no evidence that the suspect planned this incident or promoted violence on Discord. Let's see. The messages referenced in the recent reporting about planning details do not appear to be Discord messages. They are communications between the suspect's roommate and a friend after the shooting, where the roommate was recounting the contents of a note the suspect had left elsewhere. Oh, so I think they're saying that Lance Twiggs was messaging with some other friend about the note. I bet that he might have been instructed to do that. Just speculation. Just speculation. Authorities say Robinson's roommate showed them Robinson had made a joke on Discord, then showed investigators a message which included Tyler stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point. Oh, those were text messages. So I don't know, Rick. It sounds like that's what they're kind of saying, but I don't know. It kind of sounds like they're saying that he didn't promote violence or plan it. I don't know if they're specifically disclaiming the confession message on there, but let me know if you find any more information. Okay, so Debbie's saying, according to the manual of the rifle, I guess it's for Trigger Smart's video, rifle, it was on the safety side, and there was no way the scope, it could be moved over it couldn't have been moved from safety to fire with the scope on the way that it was. I'll look into that. Thank y'all for giving me this, but I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. But hey, he had the screwdriver. Maybe that's what he did, is he switched the scope, which obviously would take an inordinate amount of time. Just really not unprofessional. I mean, incredulous, I guess I'll say. Let's see. See y'all having a dog conversation. I love dog. I was talking about my brother on Decorated Green Beret. Probably has a lot of cool stories. Yeah. He fought over in Fallujah and some pretty hardcore stuff. But he's sniper instructor, all that stuff. We're pretty close, and he's going to be getting some property too near us, I believe. So yeah, it's going to be good times. I think he's going to start a gun range out there and do instruction. So yeah, it's going to be good stuff. I told him he needs to start a YouTube channel, man. Green Berets do pretty good with YouTube channels. Let's see. Lefty, they did at Utah press conference, but not picture. I think you're talking about, so they mentioned the etchings. I think you're talking about the cartridges here, that they mentioned it, but they haven't shown any photos. I haven't seen any photos of the alleged etched rounds. Let's see. It makes me glad to see y'all get along so well up here. Some people have real hell in their comment section. Debbie says, I think Tyler told his parents what he knew about it and they needed to get him safe. Yeah, I kind of do too. Like I said, I think he was tangentially involved with the powers that be and, just got bit by a snake and got set up. Just my opinion, my perspective, and got set up. And, after it all happened and he figured that out, he decided, and I wonder when that, just like, I wonder if that was, I wonder if he like saw the images they were trying to say were the shooter and maybe that was his right. I don't know. I have a lot of questions. I'm not going to ponder or speculate too much on that, but yeah, I think something like that, Debbie, occurred. Debbie said 100%, Greg. They said they do not believe he's guilty. That's what I thought. Daisy, I do too. I feel bad for his parents. That's stressful. Yeah, and I'm just going to tell you, my impression is Tyler seems to be a pretty good dude, like a pretty good kid. Like just looking at him, his smile, just his general, how he just, even on a photo, carries himself. Like he just doesn't, he seems to be a good kid. He's obviously very smart. I'm sure his parents are very proud of him. Otherwise, I bet that is very hard for them. Let's see. Debbie says, I don't think he's gay. Yeah, I don't either. I just don't. And even if he was, it wouldn't bother me. That doesn't, I'm not saying trans people there aren't some violent trans people. I'm definitely not saying that at all, but it's like, I'm just going to be honest. Like, it would be harder for you to convince me that some trans person or trans lover has like gone crazy and done a bunch of violent stuff than, someone part of, some kind of right-wing militia or something like that. But again, not to make comparison, but everyone, both of those everyone's capable of violence. Trust me, if in the right situation. So I'm not going to say that, but it's like, I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't aware that there had been a lot of trans violence in the past few. I'm not saying that there wasn't. I wasn't really aware of that going into this, but apparently there has been. But again, in this situation, it just didn't resonate with me that, this is some violent person who's dating a trans furry who now want to get rid of Charlie Kirk. I just couldn't buy it from day one. And that's just me. Raining said, I think Barron showed a pic of Lance and Tyler a while back. I'll see if I can locate that. I'll tell you what, I'll make an X post and ask if anybody's got photos of it. Photo of Lance and Tom Robinson. There might be a few things that we talked about tonight that I can make a post to ask about. Here we go. Daisy says, one of my best friends is gay and he has not one mean bone in his body. Yeah, look, now let me say this. I have known some gay people who, not that they're like mean or violent, but definitely capable of it. And I met a gay dude one time in Dallas he was actually a bodybuilder, but a huge bodybuilder. Probably 6'9", 400 pounds. Maybe 10% body fat or less. Dude was just incredibly huge dude that was gay. He's actually trans. Well, not like transitioning trans. He's still was dressed like a woman, stuff like that. So I've seen some gay dudes that you don't want to mess with. Straight up. Mess with him. Let's see. Rick says some people are born gay, others think they are gay in general. Yeah, I think they're gay in general. Yeah. And I'll say this, for trans people, there's just there's this whole spectrum, and a lot of people on the far right want to point out instances where parents are getting surgery for their, these extreme instances where you're like, yeah, that's not good, but trans people, I just have a hard time imagining that people choose that, right? That people wake up and choose to want to express themselves in a way that brings so much negativity and hate towards them, right? So just in that sense, for those who aren't like trying to shove it down everybody's throat too, that's another thing, is that some people, and it's not just trans, but other people who are these, and I hate to say it, like some categories of people who want to get out and just shove it down your throat, like, but the people who are meek and that they didn't make that choice, I just could just imagine that it's tough, that it's tough, man. It's got to be tough. Let's see. So it sounds like a lot of y'all have gay people that you're friends with that are cool with. Me too. When I was young, my parents had gay friends, and they would come over and hang out all the time. So like, I was just raised in a household where like, gay people are cool, and most of the gay people were very intelligent, very responsible people, and gay people generally are, from what I've gathered in my life, is most of them have it together. Like, most of them are hard workers. They work hard. They pay their bills. They pay their taxes. Stuff like that. So yeah, I generally speaking, I'm cool with gay people. I don't really have many problems with them, if any at all. Sometimes gay dudes like go way too far into like being female and like causing drama and stuff like that. That like sometimes that can get annoying. But it's the same way when females are like that too, but still, I'm like, damn, everything's got to be dramatic and over the top and all this. Like, what? Anyways, God bless them. Let's see. Rick, you sent me a link. If you can pop in real quick and remind me what link it was. I think if you sent me something, I probably looked at it, but let me know, because if not, I'll go take a look. If you emailed it, I'll take a look. Here goes Susan. Here we go. If I'm on the jury, I'm not convicting on what they've shown us so far. Yeah, I think that most, again, and going back to it, just my opinion, perspective, of course, most fair, average, reasonable-minded jurors wouldn't be able to convict on this. But again, I think the media has been employed here to prejudice so much that your average juror that's going to come in is already tilted against Tyler Robinson. So that way, when the evidence comes out lackluster, hopefully there's enough prejudice in their heart and hate in their heart already that they're just going to make him fry anyways. Honestly, I think again, my opinion, perspective, speculation is the strategy, and we're watching it play out right in front of our eyes. And if the polling that they discussed in the hearing the other day, that like 64% of people in Utah County right now, because of the media, think that he's guilty, well, they've been doing a pretty good job. Let's see. Okay, so Debbie's talking about in Life is Driving video. Okay, so because maybe it was you that said this the other night, Debbie, but I do remember at least someone in my stream mentioning that they've seen someone they believe to be Lance Twiggs in Adam Bartholomew Life is Driving video. Yeah, and then Rick, we were talking about this the other day, Rick, too, that Lance, I think it was in the comments that, Lance, for him, just talking about like at least the Discord messages, right? Like Tyler could have left his desktop on with Discord on. He could know his password to the computer. Maybe he was logged out of Discord, but he has the browser thing where it's like, save my password. So yeah, as far as the Discord messages are concerned, again, I would hope that the defense demands a very rigorous workup of those. If they can't already say this is bogus by showing video of, I think there should be video. Again, I would have a hard time imagining that there is a place inside of the Washington County Jail or sheriff's office that isn't covered by cameras. I mean, the bathrooms, obviously, stuff like that. But like, so with that being said, I'm finding it hard to believe that if he turned himself in, in and around 6 p.m., to be Mirandized and in custody at 6:25, that he isn't on video, straight up on video at the time the alleged messages are sent. And again, I don't know what it shows, but I would imagine that it's either going to show him on a phone, a computer, or sitting there at a table with his arms crossed like this, right? I mean, I think I know which one it would be, but surely there's got to be video that would, again, that might put it all to rest right there, right? That might put it all to rest right there. And, with that being said, they should be able to, well, I'll say this. They don't mention the Discord messages in the information. And so I'm wondering if that Discord confession is something just kind of extra or ancillary that they cooked up, but didn't put it in the information. So that way, if it came out like it is now, and we think, well, there's probably no way that he did this, that they can just scoot that under the rug and just not even mention it at the preliminary hearing or at trial. That's just speculation on my part. Let me know what y'all think about that, though. Y'all get what I'm saying, to where it's like they're not stuck to or married to having to try to introduce those messages. They didn't mention them in the information, but they put it out in the media, trying to just layer on everybody's notion that he's guilty, knowing that they could be proven to not be authentic very easily. And that if that occurred, they didn't depend on everything we're doing here and Barron and everyone else doing, that they can just pull it back. Let's forget about it. Let's just not even mention it from now on. Because to be honest, I haven't heard a lot of mention even about the Discord messages out, since this debate that's been going on about when Tyler was actually in custody, and the fact that it seems pretty clear that the likelihood of him being able to have sent those messages is very, 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 very low, in my opinion. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Congratulations to all y'all parents, and maybe some of y'all out there who might be graduating coming up. My stepdaughter, or have already graduated. My stepdaughter just graduated from middle school. She's starting high school next year. Because we had the puppy, I wasn't able to make it. I stayed with the puppy, but my wife went and saw her, and went well. So congratulations to all y'all and your people, your kids who are graduating. Let's see. So he said here, Debbie, just wait till the defense gets a hold of that rifle. Yeah, I'm anxious to see what the defense experts say. I tell you, I would say, first things first, I'd say it's like do a fingerprint analysis of that joker. Because I'm telling you, if there's DNA consistent with his on there, but his fingerprints aren't on there, I think that would be something material. I do. I think that'd be pretty material. I mean, obviously he could wear gloves on the day of the incident, but if your DNA's on there, I would just imagine some point in time he would have touched it with his bare hands. But anyways, we'll see. I just find it funny that there's no, and not only that, take that back. Tyler allegedly mentioned in the text messages that he had fingerprints on there. I'd go fingerprint. That's the first thing I tell him to do. Before you do any DNA test, go fingerprint that joker. Because if there are any fingerprints on there from Tyler Robinson, that kind of makes those text messages not look a little bit less authentic, right? Just saying. If the guy admits, I got fingerprints on there, yet they didn't do no fingerprint analysis, yet they got a DNA match, yeah, I'd definitely have them pull, do a fingerprint analysis. Debbie, yeah, it's a state case. I don't get why the FBI is there at all. Yeah, I mean, like I said the other night, and as Barron said too, it's not so crazy in a high-profile case like this that they've helped with resources, right? That's kind of normal. but the level of involvement, like, bogarting the evidence and like insisting on getting the analysis right. Like it was the other day, it's like they're insisting that they're going to get the analysis right. It's going to show that he's guilty. I mean, and then the FBI being involved in the decision to pave over the crime scene at UVU. I mean, that's yeah. All right. Well, I'm kind of getting to the end here, y'all. I'm going to go eat again. I'm hungry again. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Real quick. Rick not the alien, Rick Thelian. Good to have you here, Rick. Greg, email was on Trigger Smart's breakdown. Yeah, and I saw Trigger Smart's video in my feed the other day. I'll go back and watch it. Thank you for giving me a heads up, Rich. I'll go watch that when I'm done. When I go lay in bed in a minute, I'll watch that before I go to bed. Thank y'all for the heads up. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it. Let's see. Daisy Times. It'll be interesting what evidence they have to try and convict him. As of now, there isn't any definitive evidence. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think they have any real evidence to put him at the campus at that time. And, I think that's a gaping hole, right? I mean, if those grainy, closed, security camera videos, the only solid direct evidence that they might have to put him at the campus at that time, I don't buy it. I don't think a jury's going to say, yeah, that's clearly enough, Tyler Robinson, that we feel that was him walking up. I don't think that there's even enough for that. I don't think that video is going to suffice, just my opinion, if they even let it in, right? Because it's already been admittedly altered. I would harp on that for sure. The people that they admitted on national TV that they have enhanced these pictures. How'd y'all enhance? All right. Well, went a little bit longer than I was thinking, but God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Raining, for the super chats. Very much appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and make this stream here public. So, anyways, all y'all that got to spend it here with me, thank y'all very much, and God bless y'all. I'm going to be doing more and more. Right? I've made a firm commitment to growing and further developing this channel. I think we're a little bit over 1,500 subscribers right now. So going pretty good. And, just by the way, I think y'all be glad to know that Adam's stream with John Bray last night, they have over 2,000 views so far. So he is in the text messages, just very, very smitten. So thank all y'all who were there to support him. Again, Adam's a very hardworking man. He works all day doing roofing work to support his family and stuff, then come home and does this because he loves it. He loves y'all. He loves our core group of subscribers and people who participate in our streams. So thank y'all very much for supporting him. That means a lot to me for what that's worth. And I think he's almost to monetizing. So I think Adam is a few short watch hours from being monetized. He's got over 500 subscribers, well over. I think he's 530 or something like that. So God bless Adam. Thank y'all for all the support y'all have given him and me. Obviously, it means the world. We'll keep this thing going. I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow night because court's tomorrow afternoon. They're going to do that 30-minute WebEx. Judge is going to issue his orders. So I'll do a live stream tomorrow night. I'll see if Adam wants to join maybe. But I'll try to announce something just as early as I can to let y'all know. Probably by, I'd say 2-3 Eastern time in the afternoon. I'll make sure to post the live. I'll probably do it same time, 9 p.m. after everyone else finishes up. And then, I'll publish it and I'll make a post and let y'all know. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for everything. I will be back tomorrow. Looking forward to it. And if y'all get Debbie, check out the Luigi video. Let me know what y'all think. I'll continue to cover that case. And one other thing. I think I'm going to branch out a little bit from the law. Like, I think I'm going to do my live streams mostly, like, for sure, like kind of legal based stuff, but I might start doing some cell phone videos, 10, 15 minutes, just talking about some of the other ancillary political issues going on in and around. It's just like TPUSA, the Trump administration, like these people have gone so far in just bending the truth, corruption, being terrible generally, in my opinion. Yeah, I got some things to say about it. I got some things to say. So if y'all see some recorded videos from me, feel free to watch them and let me know what you think. But I think I'm going to do that just to keep the content wheel going. And but we'll definitely be doing 2 to 3 live streams a week. Friday with Adam. I'm going to try to do every Sunday member stream with y'all, and then maybe 1 or 2 other ones when some good legal issues pop up, particularly in the Tyler Robinson case. So stay tuned. I love y'all. Thank y'all very much for coming. I'll make it a point to bring Jax, my puppy, on with me tomorrow, so that way y'all can see him live. He's just worn out tonight. So anyways, thank y'all. God bless. I love y'all. Y'all take it easy. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Get ready to go kick some ass this week. Pardon my language. Much love, y'all. See y'all.